I want to tell you the most practical thing I know. Not the most mystical, not the most profound. The most practical. How to walk out of any unwanted emotional state the very moment you recognize you are in it. Not tomorrow, not after you have analyzed why you feel this way, not after you have worked through it or waited for it to pass. Now, this instant. Most of you believe that moods happen to you. You wake in the morning and find yourself irritated, discouraged, anxious, and you accept it as a condition that must run its course. You say, I am in a bad mood, as though it were a place you have been locked into by forces outside yourself. But I tell you tonight, you are not in a bad mood. You are occupying the state called bad mood. And the moment you understand this distinction, the moment you see that a mood is a state you occupy, not a condition imposed upon you, you are free. Listen carefully now. I am going to show you exactly how I do this myself. The technique takes less than 1 minute. But if you misunderstand what I mean by state, you will practice this for years and nothing will change. So let me tell you what a state is. And listen carefully now, because if you misunderstand this, nothing else I say tonight will help you. A state is not something you create. States already exist. They are pre-existent realities, like rooms in an enormous house. The state of joy exists. The state of despair exists. The state of confidence exists. The state of anxiety exists. They are there, waiting, and you move into them, you occupy them, by what you assume to be true of yourself in any given moment. When you say, I am in a bad mood, you are speaking more truly than you know. You are in it, you have walked into that state. You are standing in that room, and just as you walked in, you can walk out. But most people do not know this. They believe the mood is happening to them. They believe it was caused by the traffic, by the conversation, by the weather, by their circumstances. And so they wait for the circumstances to change before they can feel differently. I tell you, they have it backwards. The circumstances are not causing the state. The state you occupy is projecting the circumstances. The world is yourself pushed out, always, without exception. Now you may be wondering, if moods are states I occupy, why do I seem to have no control over them? Why do I wake in the morning and find myself already discouraged before anything has even happened? The teachers of psychology will tell you it is chemistry. They will tell you it is your nervous system, your hormones, your past conditioning. I tell you they are wrong. They have mistaken the shadow for the substance. Your body does not create your consciousness. Your consciousness creates what you experience in your body. The mood you wake in is the state you fell asleep occupying, nothing more. And I insist on this point because if you accept their explanation, you give your power away to forces you believe are beyond your control. Let me tell you why, because you fell asleep in that state the night before. You went to bed occupying the state of discouragement, and you woke in it because you never left it. States persist until you consciously exit them. They do not dissolve on their own, and here is where most fail. They try to fight the mood. They try to think positive thoughts. They try to analyze why they feel this way, digging into childhood wounds and past traumas, believing that if they understand the cause, the mood will lift. But I say to you, this keeps you in the state, because all of that effort accepts the mood as real. It accepts that you are a victim of the mood, that the mood has power over you. And so you remain in it, working from it, trying to escape it, but never actually leaving it. You cannot change a state by working within it. You must exit it entirely. Now hold this thought. Before I give you the technique itself, you must understand one specific thing about feeling. There is a counterfeit feeling that most practice, and it keeps them locked in the unwanted state while they believe they are applying the law. I will show you the difference between true feeling and counterfeit feeling in just a moment, because without that distinction, the technique will not work for you. So what is the correct method? I am going to give you the technique exactly as I use it myself. And I promise you, if you do this, the state will shift within seconds. First, the moment you catch yourself in an unwanted mood, you recognize that you are in a state. You need not name it, you need not dwell on it. Simply recognize I am occupying a state called irritation, or discouragement, or anxiety. Whatever it is, just see it. This recognition is power, because the moment you see you are in a state, you are no longer completely identified with it. There is a part of you that is observing, and that observer is consciousness itself. That is you, the real you, not the state, the one who can move between states. Second, you assume you are already in the opposite state. Not that you are moving toward it, not that you hope to feel it someday. You assume you are there now. You feel what you would feel if the unwanted mood had never existed. And by feeling, I do not mean emotion. I must insist on this, my friend, because I have heard my own teaching twisted beyond recognition. Feeling is not wild emotion. It is not pumping yourself up into excitement or faking happiness you do not possess. Those who teach you to raise your vibration or get into a high frequency have misunderstood me entirely. Feeling is the secret, yes. But by feeling, I mean the quiet inner conviction, the acceptance, the assumption that what you desire is already true. It is calm, it is natural, it requires no effort. Do not let anyone, including yourself, talk you out of this understanding. If you are in discouragement, you assume you are already satisfied. If you are in anxiety, you assume you are already at peace. You do not try to manufacture the feeling. You simply accept that you are already the man or woman who feels that way. You consent to it. You yield to it. And third, you persist in that assumption for a few seconds until it feels natural. Not hours, not days, seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, long enough for the new assumption to take root. That is all. The state will shift because consciousness is the only reality. What you are conscious of being, you are. Not what you hope to be, not what you are trying to become, what you are conscious of being now, in this moment. That is what you are. Now I must warn you, there are three common mistakes that will prevent this from working, and I see them made again and again by those who hear me. The first mistake is the one I just described, but there are two more. And the second mistake, my friend, is the most insidious. It is the mistake of waiting to see if the law has worked. Most do not realize they are making this mistake. They believe they have assumed, but they have not. I will show you exactly what I mean in just a moment, for this is where most lose the state without ever knowing it. Let me tell you about a woman who wrote to me many years ago. She had been studying my work for over a year. She had listened to my recordings. She had read my books. And she wrote to me in despair saying, "Neville, I try to change my mood, but it does not work. I still wake every morning in dread." So I asked her, "What do you do when you feel the dread?" And she said, "I try to feel better. I imagine happy things. I tell myself it will pass." You see the mistake. She was trying to feel better. She was working from the state of dread, trying to escape it. But she never actually assumed she was already free of it. She was hoping the technique would make her feel better, and that hope kept her in the state of not feeling better. I told her, "You must not try to feel better. You must assume you already are better, not as a future possibility, as a present fact." At first she resisted. She said, "But Neville, I do not feel better. How can I assume I am something I am not?" And I said to her what I say to you now. You are not assuming you are something you are not. You are assuming you are something you already are in another state. The state of peace exists. You are not creating it. You are simply moving into it by assuming you are already there. She tried this. She wrote to me 3 weeks later. She said that the morning after our conversation, she woke in dread as usual. But this time, instead of trying to feel better, she simply assumed she was already the woman who woke in peace. She did not analyze the dread, she did not fight it, she just moved, she occupied a different state. And within moments, the dread was gone, not because she had processed it, not because circumstances had changed, but because she had exited the state that produces dread and entered the state that produces peace. She said to me, "Neville, it was as though I walked out of a dark room into a bright one. The dark room is still there, but I am no longer in it." That is exactly right. The state of dread still exists, it always will, but you are not in it, you have moved. Now here is the second mistake, waiting to see if it works. The moment you assume you are in the new state and then wait to see if you feel different, you have not truly assumed it, because the one who waits to see if it works is still in the old state. That is the old state waiting. Assumption means you accept it as done. You do not test it. You do not check in with yourself to see if you are feeling better yet. You simply live from the new state and go about your business. The law is impersonal, my friend. It does not ask if you deserve relief from your mood. It does not ask if you have earned it. It responds only to what you assume to be true. And if you assume you are already free, you are free, instantly, in consciousness. Now, the three-dimensional world may take a moment to catch up. You may still have the faint echo of the old mood lingering in your body, but in consciousness, the shift is instant, and the body will follow, always. The third mistake is blaming outer circumstances for the mood, and I tell you with certainty this is not opinion, it is law. There is no outer cause for your inner states, none. The belief that your mood is caused by what happens to you is the fundamental illusion that keeps humanity in bondage. Your boss did not make you angry, your spouse did not make you sad, the traffic did not make you frustrated. You were already occupying those states, and the outer world simply reflected them back to you. The world is yourself pushed out. I have told you this 1,000 times, but I will tell you again because you forget it the moment difficulty appears. There is no one to change but self. I recall a man who came to my lecture in Los Angeles in 1962. He was perpetually irritated. He said his wife nagged him, his boss criticized him, his neighbors were rude, and all of this kept him in a constant state of frustration. I said to him, "My friend, your wife is not nagging you. Your boss is not criticizing you. You are in the state of the criticized, frustrated man, and everyone in your world is simply playing the part that state requires." He did not believe me. He said, "Neville, you do not know my wife." But I insisted. I said, "Change the state you occupy, and your wife will seem to change, not because she has changed, but because you will be perceiving her from a different state." He resisted this for weeks. He kept coming to my lectures, but he would not apply it. He wanted his wife to change first. He wanted his circumstances to improve first. Then he thought he could feel better. Finally, one evening, after a particularly difficult day, he decided to try it. He came home, and instead of occupying the state of the frustrated, criticized man, he assumed he was the confident, appreciated man. He did not wait for his wife to treat him differently. He simply assumed he was already that man. And he told me later, with astonishment, that his wife greeted him warmly that very evening. She had not been warm in months. Nothing external had changed. He had not told her what he was doing. He had simply changed the state he occupied, and the world reflected it back to him. You see, there is no one to change but self. The moment you change which state you occupy, everyone in your world must change to match it. Because they are not independent actors, they are your world pushed out. Now, before I give you the application for tonight, let me tell you why this technique is so much more than a way to change your mood. Every time you shift states consciously, you are practicing the entire law of assumption in microcosm. You are training yourself to occupy desired states at will. You are becoming fluent in the language of creation. Most people stumble into states unconsciously. They react. They let circumstances push them from state to state, never realizing they have a choice. But you, my friend, you are learning mastery. You are learning to move deliberately, to select the state you wish to occupy and to live there. And the bad mood becomes your training ground. Every moment of irritation, every wave of discouragement, every flicker of anxiety is an opportunity to practice this, to catch yourself, to recognize the state, and to move. Do this enough times and you will no longer be at the mercy of moods. You will no longer wait for circumstances to improve before you can feel at peace. You will simply assume peace, and peace will be yours. Before I tell you exactly how to apply this tonight, there is one final thing you must know. There is a specific length of time you must persist in the assumption. Too short, and it does not take root. Too long, and you begin to doubt. I will give you that exact duration now, for it is the difference between those who see results within days and those who practice for months and see nothing. So here is exactly how you apply this tonight, and every day hereafter, tonight or tomorrow. The moment you catch yourself in irritation, discouragement, frustration, any unwanted state, you do this. First, you pause. You do not react. You do not continue in the state. You simply pause and ask yourself, what state am I in? Second, you assume you are already in the opposite state. You do not think about how to get there. You do not analyze why you are in the unwanted state. You simply assume you are already the person who occupies the desired state. You feel it as already true. Third, You persist in that assumption for 10 or 20 seconds. You let it settle. You do not strain. You do not force. You simply rest in the assumption until it feels natural. And fourth, you go about your business from that new state. You do not check to see if it worked. You do not monitor your feelings. You simply live from the assumption that you are already the man or woman who occupies that state. Do this, my friend. Do this every time you catch yourself in an unwanted mood, and I promise you, within days you will notice something extraordinary. The moods will come less often, they will have less power, and you will find that you can move between states as easily as you move between rooms. This is not theory, this is the law, and the law is impersonal. It works for everyone who applies it, not because they deserve it, not because they are special, but because it is law. And now I tell you, my friend, the secret is this: you are never without a state. Never. You are always occupying one. The question is not whether you will be in a state. The question is which state you will occupy. Most live unconsciously, stumbling from state to state as circumstances push them. But you, having heard this tonight, you now have the knowledge, and with knowledge comes responsibility. You can no longer pretend you are a victim of your moods. You know better now. The moment you catch yourself in an unwanted state, you have all the power in the world. Because in that moment of recognition, you are free to move. And that freedom, my friend, is your birthright. So try this tonight, just once. The very next time you find yourself in irritation, in discouragement, in any unwanted state, pause, recognize the state, and move. Assume you are already free of it. Hold that assumption for 10 seconds, then go about your business from the new state. Do not wait for circumstances to change. Do not wait to feel deserving. Simply move. The law does not judge, it only responds. And as you practice this day after day, you will discover something extraordinary. You will discover that you are not at the mercy of the world. You never were. The world has always been at the mercy of what you assume to be true. Consciousness is the only reality. What you are conscious of being, you are. The world is yourself pushed out, always, without exception.